to Corrective Consciousness episode 209, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we have another lovely show here for you. In fact, I would say it is quite good.
Quite fast.
Quite fast. Little Mouse.
I forgot that title. The Key of S.
Ask your British friends, folks. Yeah, look around you. It's a little
They have
chef's
like
kiss.
petri dishes of DNA of like Simon and Garfunkel.
The forbidden notes.
That was my favorite part by far. These are the 13 forbidden notes. Why do you even have them out? They're like in a box.
You have to unlock it. Why would you unlock it? One of them's red. Like, one of the keys is red. It's so good. You... Look around you. Look around you. Can you see it? It's ghosts.
Nobody expected that. My favorite is when they strike a match and they freeze the image in the second that you see the spark come out. You found it. Sulfur. It's like, oh, come on.
My favorite is probably still the first episode, Maths. Maths is really, really good.
Maths is an acronym. The M stands for mathematical.
But anyway, we have another wonderful profile here. We're gonna discuss some of the most notable delisted digital titles here. We even have some different categories here, but I think probably the first one that we're gonna go over is the major one, licensing issues.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the games that we're going to be bringing up are really excellent games. There are plenty of delisted games that like aren't worth your time or not worth seeking out, but there's quite a few really, really good titles that are just inaccessible unless you pirate them, which is a damn shame. It's definitely a factor of our new digital age. And some of them are like delisted like console games. So like games on the PS3 and 360 are those are really tough to pirate for too. You need to really know what you're doing in order to pirate for them. Pirating like PC games is a piece of cake usually, but like some of these are just really, really tough, and it really hurts because they're really quality titles. But you had a couple that you added right here that were Marvel titles, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were delisted but relisted, but just to show you that they can be delisted, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was delisted until it came back, so if you didn't download the Shumagorath and Jill Valentine DLC, then that's just too bad. Like, a definitive edition was released later, so it came back, but at the time, like, it's just gone. Same goes for Deadpool. Deadpool was removed from Steam, and, I think it's on Steam now again, but it was removed, and this was a thing where...
All the Activision Marvel titles, so there was also the Ultimate Alliance games were notably taken off at the time as well.
This is something, it's not my... Like, these aren't my own words, but, like, it's definitely true. I think Jim Sterling had said something like, even though something like Steam should show the permanence of video games, no matter how old they are, we can just put them on Steam. They're on this platform all the time. But ironically, digital titles are more transient than anything else because they could just be pulled without warning. It's just like, well, that's it. It's gone.
Yeah, it's going to be even worse when platforms will go full streaming. I imagine it will happen eventually. And
well, Stadia's trying that.
Yeah, I mean, there are several streaming services. I mean, there's PlayStation Now, and a few other ones, but like they're not super popular. Mostly because we don't have the infrastructure to support them.
Yeah, America's internet infrastructure sucks. It was cool at the time, but we just never really evolved it. But also, just like, I don't know what people think about PlayStation Now, but part of the problem with Stadia is you're paying full price for games that you won't own. Like, that's a douchebag move.
Yeah, I mean, PlayStation Now gives you access to a bunch of games, I think, to begin with. So
Okay.
I mean, it's more of a service.
So it's like this.
Like
I mean,
Netflix or
I
something.
think you had to pay more specifically for these, at least for a little while. But it's kind of like, of all things to reference, but the Sega Channel.
Yeah, yeah. The Sega Channel was like a cable channel that you would pay for that, and you would get access to games, but you wouldn't get to keep them. That was the thing.
Yeah, so
So
like certain games that are available now, but were quite difficult to get back in the day, like Golden Axe 3 or Mega Man Wily Wars, like American
Alien
version.
Soldiers was on there as well,
Hmm.
and there was other stuff too that was exclusive
Yeah.
to that service. There was even some like preview stuff for games that were never like
Sure.
officially released and stuff, so that was cool. But luckily, most of that stuff has been preserved in one way or another. It was like there were remnants of the the downloaded title still in the cartridges, those kinds of things. So,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, uh, this really stinks. Eventually you're just gonna have a browser window essentially, and you'll be interacting with that, and there's nothing you can preserve. I also might I'll get into this later, but there's also plenty of games that like were online to begin with that like you can't really preserve them.
Oh yeah,
So that kind of thing.
this is a weird example because it's physical, but there was a console release of one of the Plants vs Zombie games
Mm.
where it's like only online. So if the service is shut down, even if you had the disc, it's useless.
Yeah, yeah, no, there are plenty of games like that. I mean, there's Matrix Online, for instance. There's
Yeah, yeah.
um,
And again, for another weird physical example, this isn't so much delisting, but if Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 ever gets delisted, even if you have the disc, it's like the tutorial level and possibly level 1.
yeah,
Like that's it.
yeah, yeah, and I might add that like some of these they even like took away the ability to re-download them even if you bought them. So that's a really big shame. There have been some
That's rare though. That's just like a straight up malicious move. The only example I could think of was PT, and that's because it was a promotional title for a game that never ended up existing.
It doesn't happen too often, but I know that Rising Star Games did that for a cave game
Oh,
on Xbox 360. It's like an unusual occurrence though, and it's for a game that people wanted to play. And
yeah.
people still want to play that port.
The ability to take away the ability to
It's
read
like a
or
Dodonpachi game.
taking away the ability to re-download a game you paid for that was a serious dick move. Like at least PT was free.
Yeah, yeah. But you also have what the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure collection on the PS3.
No, it wasn't a
Um,
collection. It was an HD widescreen version of the Capcom fighter.
well, it has both games on it as JoJo's Venture and
Oh, so that was the Dreamcast version then, and not the PS1 version? Because the Dreamcast had both versions on it.
so yeah, the PS3 version has both CPS3 games on it, which is
Oh, I didn't
JoJo's
realize that.
Venture
Because
and
the PS1 title was only one of those games, but it had a full-on story mode that takes you
yeah,
through the
so it's
entire manga.
basically like a port of the Dreamcast version. Yeah.
Strange decision, but cool that it's two games.
Well, why is it strange?
Well, because it's on PlayStation. I thought they would take the PlayStation version.
Oh well, they also released it on 360 as well. So I mean, they
Oh,
took
okay. I didn't
they
realize
they
that.
took these reports of arcade games, and like the PS1 is
Yeah,
version
that's a downscale
is a
from the
downgrade.
arcade. Yeah.
Yeah, so they would obviously want to do the arcade versions over the downgrade,
Yeah.
even though it has unique elements. But one that like people are like clamoring for, like really want this is the Scott Pilgrim
Yeah, and people have been
game.
begging limited run games for this for years.
Yeah, this is like on top of their list, and the problem is like this is all rights issues because
Yeah.
it's Brian Lee O'Malley, who's the creator of the characters. He actually wants to get it done, so it's not from him. The artist who is Scott or is it Paul Robertson? Um, I don't think he's the issue. There's Anna Managuchi who did the music. They might be part of the issue, and Universal, which is more than likely the big issue.
Yeah,
Um,
Universal's pretty like uptight about this kind of thing.
well, they're owned by Comcast, so
Oh, so the douchebag personified, yeah.
yeah, exactly. But it's also was published by Ubisoft. So apparently Ubisoft wants to get it done too, because they put like an eye emoji when Brian Lee O'Malley posted something about
Oh, that's
it
interesting.
recently. So that means they're at least interested and maybe in talks with trying to get this done.
Maybe Ubisoft will re-release Drakengard 2.
I wouldn't
Nobody
bet on
wants
it.
that, even me.
Or the Falcom games that they released on the PSP that they butchered the localization of.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, nobody wants that. Or how about the Lunar game for the DS,
That
Dragon
was
Song?
Ubisoft? Oh
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
That
I
was a
think
game that was
pretty
so
sure.
bad that Lunar fans cried and you abandoned ship like when you either bought it or were about to buy it or something.
Yeah, Ubisoft had a string of like localization attempt like like a string as a localization company for a
Yeah.
while. So and this was a fantastic game. I mean, I mentioned all those people. Like it was like the it was the coming of the minds. Like all these really cool people putting something together, and it turned out really well. And it was done in the River City Ransom style. It was a great game, a fantastic game, and it also had two batches of DLC that
Oh,
got
really?
delisted along with it. Yeah,
Huh.
they had two extra characters. They had Knives and the Wallace,
Wow, I had
and
no idea, but it had DLC.
and the Wallace one added online multiplayer too. If you were lucky enough to get that before
Damn.
it got
Well, you know
delisted.
what? You never know, because like if System Shock 2 managed to happen, maybe this could happen.
Well, yeah, you have stuff like that, but then you have like failure stories, like what was that game? The one that's No One Lives Forever. That game.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
who was the problem there? Warner Brothers?
Warner Brothers.
Hmm.
Yeah, they had no reason to cop block them, but
Yeah.
that's just what happened there. And in the same vein, there are some licensed beat 'em ups in the 360 era that were really great ports that just don't exist anymore. There's X-Men, Konami's X-Men, which finally got a
Yes.
console port after so many years on the PS3 and 360, and that got yanked after I think the acquisition of Marvel.
Yeah,
Um,
and that game cracked me up, by the way, because it had replacement voice actors, but
yeah,
they still said the same stupid lines, and they still did the like they tried to emulate the old voice actors. So Colossus is still going like "what?" It just sounds ridiculous.
welcome to die.
Yeah, like it's the year
X chicken.
2000, like what 15, and they're still saying "Welcome to die." I love it.
Around the same time, they also released The Simpsons to help
Yep,
promote
The
the
Simpsons beat 'em up.
movie,
Yep.
which I might add, The Simpsons video game is delisted everywhere as well. That for the contemporary one for that
And
time.
that's a shame because
Yeah,
like I watched our friend play that in college. That is like when you see licensed games like that, you're like, I don't know, because The Simpsons have had a whole bunch of crappy games. They've had a couple good ones. Hit and
yeah.
Run
Hit and
was
Run
quite
was good.
good.
Yeah,
So like The Simpsons game comes out, and you're like, well, we'll see. But that game is quite good.
yeah, and it has good writing in it.
Yeah, like the jokes are legitimately funny. I was quite surprised because usually when you play Road Rage or Hit and Run, it's like a reference you may remember from the show, but the
Yeah,
Simpsons game
just
was
voice
new
clips and
and
stuff.
was also funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Um,
one part that cracked me up just because it was so in character. I don't remember the exact context, but I think the characters were introducing themselves in flowery ways. You know, like I am Bart, like protector of the good, or like that's not what he said, but building it up, and
sure.
Marge just comes in. I'm Marge. It just cracked me up.
Next one. Actually, there are several Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games that have been delisted.
Yeah.
The first one that comes to mind is actually the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game. The original arcade game got delisted,
Oh, the
and
one that the NES game was based off of.
Yes, correct. The original Konami one.
Okay, yeah, a bunch of
So
Konami, 3 hits in a row. Simpsons,
yeah,
X-Men, Turtles.
so they had originally re-released that in order to promote the TMNT movie at the time.
And
Um,
by the way, this is not an example of a delisting, but rather why it will probably not be listed again. The NES version of that arcade game ain't happening because it had all sorts of Pizza Hut promotions on it.
I mean, some of these have sometimes some of these games have been like modified in order to get rid of rights
Okay.
issues. I mean, like
Or in the case of Mega Man Legends 1, like Sony just went back and reacquired all the rights so they can make it digital.
yeah, that was just stupid on their part because of their own esoteric rule where the
Well, yeah, that
game
was a rule
needs
for
to be
PS1
identical.
games.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
which that's stupid.
Because like I've mentioned this before, but could you imagine if they applied that shit to the PS3? Like Yakuza would be the most
Ridiculous.
difficult game in the world to reacquire because everything in that game is licensed, including likenesses of real life people.
Yeah, yeah.
It's too much. Do you want to find Paul Lim, the guy from I think Singapore? I think like the fucking world champion of darts. You want to get him again? Good luck with that.
Jesus Christ. But also around that time, they also curiously made a really bad remake of Turtles in Time. Like that
Oh, I forgot
called
about that. I
Reshelled.
forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like if you play the first level, you're like okay, but like you start to see the cracks the more you look, and
No,
it
you just want
feels
to
a
play
little
the old
different.
Konami one. You don't want to play this brand new
Yeah, stick with the SNES.
crummy one.
The SNES had the extra level, and it was a damn good version of the arcade. But the arcade has 4 players.
Yeah, but the Super Nintendo version.
The Super Nintendo version is better. I think I actually played the arcade version with you at a. Oh damn! What was it called?
Yestercade.
Yestercade.
Yeah.
I keep thinking Red Bank. What's the name of the place in Red Bank? But Yestercades, and yeah, like by the end, I mean, arcade games were designed to be short. They're quarter munchers. They're not long. They're hard. But even so, by the end of the game, I was like, I get it.
Yeah, the Super Nintendo one had a lot more variety. They had like the boss where you had to throw enemies at the screen.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and also that was controlled in the Super Nintendo game. Like there's an
Yeah,
actual
it
like
wasn't just a thing that happens sometimes as a cool effect. Like you
yeah
can't, because that really threw me when I saw the Super Nintendo version. I was like, how do I just do this? Hope for the best, but like no, there's actually a way to do it.
yeah. There's actually command to press. Well, most recently, Platinum made a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles video game
Yes.
that was pretty decent. It wasn't like the best game ever, but it was pretty good.
It's another one of those things. It's like I said on Reactive Consciousness, like Platinum fans will probably like it for what it is. They also do like a
Yeah.
Transformers Devastation game. It's like, I get the Platinum style. Let's do it.
Yeah, the Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game were made on the same engine.
Okay.
So, but
What was
yeah,
it called?
that
Like Back to the Sewer? Something with the sewer?
I don't remember. I think
Whatever.
I thought it was just called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's what I remember.
Oh, maybe that was it.
Yeah, I think it was just called that. Unless there was a subtitle once you go
No,
went
no,
into
no,
the
no.
game.
Mutants in Manhattan.
Oh, okay. So that game got delisted. So the only way to and this was a game that was on PS4. Like
Yeah.
this was like
Well, it was also PS3
very
though, right?
yeah, but it's a contemporary release. So in order to buy to get this game, you need to buy a physical copy of it.
Yep. Same goes for Transformers.
Yeah, and that's a shame because they're decent titles and they're fan they're a fandom game, a game that's part of a fandom of things. So that's a shame. Also, there's a bunch of Sega games that have rights issues because they license actual like vehicles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, Sega Rally 3 was a PS3 360 game that was actually only on the service for something like 6 months. So,
Yeah.
like,
Well, and that kind of reminds me, like regarding titles that were exclusive to services. Because I mean, this is jumping categories a little bit, but just because I was looking at a bunch of FromSoft stuff, there's one of the Tenchu games called Shadow Assault Tenchu, which apparently plays a little more kind of Bomberman style, sort of, but that was 360 downloadable only. So
yeah.
like either you got it or you didn't.
Yeah, this is a big shame because it's part of a series. Like Sega Rally's a well-regarded series. There's a really awesome game on the Saturn and a really awesome game on the Dreamcast in
Yeah,
this
and we,
series.
we've mentioned this before, by the way, but the Saturn one. I don't know if the Dreamcast one also does it, but the Saturn one has that like game over,
Yeah.
yeah. When you lose, it's
Oh
like
yeah.
you're not even mad.
Um, like as far I'm not a huge racing fan, really, but I'm not a huge racing fan. But like I love these games. They're a lot of fun.
Yes, so,
Um,
certain. It's the same with me. Like,
certain ones
I'm
just
I'm not into the
click with
racing
you.
genre, but I love Mario Kart 64. I get a real kick out of Outrun. There are some games that just hit me right.
Yeah, so this one kind of hurts because I didn't even know this one came out, and then when I did research on Sega Rally the as a series, I found out that this one was delisted very very quickly, and nobody has ever gotten an answer out of Sega like as to why. Maybe they
Yeah.
didn't clear some rights or something like that because it was originally an arcade game. But it really sucks because it's a title that barely anybody got a chance to pick it up. Um, Also in the same vein, you have Outrun 2006 and all of its like future versions like Coast to Coast and all those, and online arcade I think is what one of them's called, but that's no longer on PC or Xbox or PS3, and that's because of actual rights with Ferrari. That's a big shame because the modern Outrun games are fantastic and they look beautiful. And especially if you were lucky enough to get the PC version, it just looks amazing, and you can no longer get them. And in the same vein, the Afterburner Climax has like real Boeing uh, licenses for the airplanes in it. So yeah, and that's a fantastic game. It's like one of the best like arcade style games I've ever played. I love that game and it's beautiful. Um, there's also like a couple really weird like the id Software kind of legacy titles that are
Yeah.
are not available for some reason.
The
Like
Wolfenstein reboot that was immediately forgotten about when Bethesda took over and then double
yeah,
rebooted.
and that one has fans. Like some people like that one. And Raven Software went on to make what was it, Singularity after that one. So like Singularity is kind of like a spiritual successor to that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, Raven Software, though, I think they also did do Heretic.
Yeah, I think that's how they got started was doing the original Heretic.
Because, like, I remember in that game, it's not id, it's Raven. And if you type in the invincibility code, you just die. If you type in the all weapons code, you lose all weapons. It's like,
So,
nice try, buddy.
in that same vein, Heretic 2 is also curiously missing. Like you can get Hexen 2, but you can't get Heretic 2.
Yeah, Heretic 2, I didn't even know that a game existed for the longest time because I remember the original
It's also
Hexen.
not very good.
I know, but I remember the original Hexen was called something like Hexen Beyond Heretic or
Sure,
something with Heretic in the name.
it's called
So I
Beyond
was like, oh,
Heretic. Yeah.
Hexen is Heretic 2, but no, there is actually a game called Heretic 2.
Yeah, so yeah, for some reason that one's not available. Probably because it's a janky game that
Yeah, I test
nobody
played it
loves.
in college and whatever.
Wolfenstein 2009 though, I don't understand why that one's not available.
If I
I
had to guess, like I would say maybe Bethesda took over and they're like we're doing this instead. That's the only thing I could think of.
I also think that it might be a holdover from Windows games for Windows Live. Um,
Okay. Yeah, because I
when
think
when
now
out.
the only way you can get it is to find a physical PS3 and also 360, I think,
Yeah,
copy.
and 360, yeah, or a cracked copy of course, but like
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of the games from that era that were games for Windows Live games uh, have all kinds of problems. Like for instance, the original version of Bulletstorm is like that. And this goes along with our like part of the reason why some of these games aren't available is because like the services that supported them were shut down. So games for Windows Live, um,
Yeah, Halo
is
2
one
was
of
trapped
those.
in limbo for a very long time,
Yeah, I mean we have the Master Chief Collection, which is way better than that version
which
ever
very
was.
recently came out. Yeah,
Yeah,
Halo 2 was just gone for a while. Like the PC version, I
and
mean.
that's a landmark game. I mean that's a fantastic game,
Like
and the
everybody and his
original
mother had
Halo
it for
too.
Xbox, but PC it was like a Vista exclusive. It was
Yeah,
weird.
weird. Um, and also Prey. Prey, oddly enough, the original Prey from 2006 is not available at all anywhere, and that's a 3D Realms game. That's like the only 3D Realms game that I know of that's like really been delisted and you can't find it anywhere. And I
Yeah,
don't know
even
why.
yeah, 3D Realms. They like as far as I know, they brought most of their stuff back. Like even stuff that was like Apogee,
Yeah,
like
most of their
Biomenace, like even Terminal Velocity. I didn't expect that, but that came back too.
the only game that I know of that they didn't bring back other than this was like Commander Keen Episode 6 for some
Oh,
reason.
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, Prey, the original Prey was actually a hit. Like that was a good game. And it reviewed well and it sold well. Uh, it does have a lot of licensed music in it, though. So I
Okay.
think that might be it. I mean, the beginning of the game where you get abducted by the aliens, like "Don't Fear the Reaper" is playing.
Oh,
Yeah, there's like a
and they would have
bunch
to
of
they
songs
would
in it.
owe Saturday Night Live the rights for that.
All that cowbell, you can't
Yeah, they
fit
got
that
to
all
pay
in that.
Christopher Walken. Yeah.
But yeah, I actually recently have picked up the original Prey because I never got a chance to finish it back in the day, and that's a really good looking, very innovative game. You ever play the original Prey?
I never touched either of the praise.
So, yeah, I keep referring to that because there was a recent Bethesda reboot of Prey, and it had like a spin-off title as well, but for VR. But yeah, I recently started playing this. I when I originally bought it, my laptop couldn't handle it. Or no, I got it for free because I was a GameStop employee, and they were giving out like review copies for GameStop employees. So like I could barely run it on my PC at the time, so I didn't want to play it because it was a demanding game at the time. It does a lot of things that like Portal did. Like it'll have like portals to different areas, just in the middle of space.
Sure.
Um, it also plays on perspective constantly, so like there are certain areas where you can walk on the wall in this, so your perspective is constantly changing.
Sure.
There's also like devices that can change the how gravity affects the room too. So there's some really neat stuff that goes on in that game, and I'm actually I think I'm gonna play through that all the way. So I'm kind of excited about that. But yeah, I was able to find a copy of that. um, uh, I actually still have my old copy, but I was able to find like an updated patched version of it. And then you also have the the Xbox Live Classic title, Toyota Yaris.
Well, I mean that's a fan favorite, of course.
So
That is a weird fucking game, by the
it
way.
is. It's very odd. I still have it on my 360.
I've said this years ago. You must record some footage of that and just be like, I promise you don't know what this game is.
Yeah. You go around in a Toyota Yaris on these like at least like F-Zero style
Yeah, like
tracks,
pipes. Yeah,
and you
like
have a
half pipes.
gun like with a tentacle like reaching out of
Yeah, you
your
have like arms
car.
coming out of your vehicle. It's the weirdest thing. I
So
don't remember
weird.
what the point was. That was. Were you collecting things or what?
I don't know, but it's
It's
a
like that's not what a fucking Yaris does. A Yaris doesn't have weird arms. It's a car.
it's also a bizarre ass janky ass game. Like it's very weird and like the physics are terrible. It's a delight,
When
but
you're done,
also
you absolutely want to buy a Yaris.
also it's a legendary crappy car. Like it's a car that's a butt of a lot of jokes. So they don't even make that model anymore.
They should
Um
make a new one with stupid arms on it.
And I'm pretty sure these are delisted, but they're actually the Doritos games that came out for the Xbox
Oh
360,
jeez.
like Dash of Destruction. That was actually a good game.
Were they still like? Oh no, never mind. I was gonna ask if they were those Chester Cheetah things, but that
No,
wasn't
it's
Doritos.
Doritos. This one you were actually like a T-Rex and you had to eat Doritos. It was
What
pretty
the
fun.
fuck?
It was actually pretty fun.
All right.
Don't knock it, man. Um, but then there were ones that were just brought shame upon the companies that made them, and they just got rid of them.
Yeah.
We've been talking about like weird rights issues. Most of the ones we talked about were worth playing, but these ones were not. You could bring these up, Lotus. You're the
Yeah, I can
expert
only
here.
really think of two off the top of my head, but these were removed because they were just garbage. The first one was Ride to Hell Retribution, which actually has DLC, and I think it might have on console as well, but you are not buying those games digitally anymore. I heard if you like import a physical copy of the game or like buy a Steam code, I think you could still redeem it, but you're not buying that game. It is jank as hell, including on console. Like I played it on PS3 and crashed multiple times.
I'm gonna get the
It's
physical of that one.
I had the physical of that one for 450 and then I sold it later. The other game I don't know much about, but there was an Afro Samurai game on PS3 and possibly 360,
Yeah,
and Steam got an Afro Samurai. I don't know if it was called Afro Samurai 2, but
it was.
it was a sequel. Yeah,
Yeah,
and that game was apparently like the buggiest,
the first
jankiest
one was
damn
actually
thing.
pretty good.
Yeah,
It was a
first one I
pretty
heard was
decent
all
game.
right,
Yeah.
but the sequel was just so badly programmed. Like they just took it off, and I
It
don't
was
think they
Steam
ever
only.
fixed it. I think it's just gone.
No, they just straight up said, you know what, we're not putting this out.
Yeah, like they didn't even fix it. This is years ago. Like it's
Yeah,
just gone. So either you bought it like day one, or you missed it. Kind of like this was removed for a different reason. This was like a political thing. We've already talked about this, but I just feel obligated to mention Devotion,
sure.
the sequel to Detention. That was removed for political reasons. But like again,
Spiritual
either
successor. It's not
yeah,
like a
spiritual successor. Either you
yeah.
bought it within like the first week, or you just don't have it. Like it's one of those.
It's a shame too because that was a well-reviewed game and it was a really hot game on Twitch.
Yeah.
Like people were really enjoying that game in particular, and we still don't have a good way to get it.
Yep.
Thankfully it was on PC, so you can get it if you need to.
Yeah, if you really wanted to.
But it just stinks that I'd rather buy it. I'd rather give these
Yeah.
guys money. But China's very, very protective of its criticisms. So
Yeah.
it's a really big shame because this isn't just like censorship of a cheesecakey thing or something like that. This is actually like political suppression, which is pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But anyway, there are plenty others that just have like an entire death of a platform. I mean, we've seen a lot of platforms already just delist everything that they've ever released. I mean, we have games for Windows Live, which we already talked about. Thankfully, most of the games have survived. I mean, Bulletstorm got a re-release.
Yeah,
So
that's on console as well.
yeah, Lost Planet 2, I think is fixed now. If you try to buy it, that was a Games for Windows Live game. Let me see here. Fallout 3 obviously is sold elsewhere now. That was a Games for Windows Live game. Um, some of the ones that were Games for Windows Live games that never really survived, like there was like the Wolverine game. Um,
Oh.
which was actually quite good. Um, I think that one was made by Grin Studio Grin. I think made that one, but it was quite good. And you can't find that one anymore. And obviously that's a race issue game. Then you also have like services that just straight up disappeared. Like you have the original Xbox's Xbox Live. Not a lot of people talked about this, but there were games on that. You could buy games on that service. Most people really got into Xbox Live on the Xbox 360, but the original Xbox Live on the original Xbox had its own games. There was a startup disc that had like a free copy of Miss Pac-Man on it, but there were other games that you could buy on there. There wasn't anything too notable, so like nobody really talks about it. But I mean, like there might have been something really cool that nobody's re-examined. The Wii in particular is a big shame because there are plenty of great Virtual Console and WiiWare titles that are now completely lost to time, even for people that played these titles on their Wii U's. So I mean, chief among them is that
Well, Stone Keep Bones of the Ancestors. I already
Stone
mentioned that. Yeah.
Stone Keep 2, yes, really
that's
terrible
an obvious
game.
one.
But in all seriousness, the Konami Rebirth titles,
Castlevania, Gradius, and Contra.
Yeah, and Contra in particular is one of the best Contra games ever made. I'm confident in saying that.
Like Castlevania was a quality remake of the first Game Boy game, but Contra and Gradius were their own things.
Yeah, Gradius Gradius and Castlevania were pretty decent. They weren't like top tier, but Contra Rebirth might be like it's amongst the best games in the series. I would say it's up there with Contra Hardcore and Contra 3 and Shattered Soldier, which are like basically the best regarded games. Yeah.
I should also mention there's this might not hit quite as hard because it's available on I forgot, Steam maybe, and I think also console for sure, like PS4 and Switch. But there was the Phoenix Wright original trilogy, which was a little different. There was something that made it unique. You could use the Wiimote to aim and click,
sure,
but it also had like a bit of a different soundtrack. It was like remix soundtrack kind of. There were two other things that it's like a 2-in-1 kind of deal. But there were like Final Fantasy, I think Crystal Chronicles related.
Oh yeah,
titles.
Yeah.
I don't know, like if you'd really want to like make them your top priority.
Like My Life is King.
Something like that. Yeah. Those like these weird obscure titles.
There was also Space Invaders, like Invade game that was like a lot of fun.
And there was also a game which I actually bought, but I forgot what it was called. It was like a not Castlevania game. I don't like.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about at all?
That was a DSiWare title too. It was
was it?
Shadow of something.
That sounds right. Oh,
yeah,
and the best
game I think.
And by far the best game on the entire thing, Muscle March. Like, come on.
Yeah, Muscle March. Oh, good.
That's a legit game that needs that actually should be brought back.
You're really good at Muscle March too.
Yeah, bring back Muscle March too.
Yeah. Muscle March is a very campy game where you played as muscle-bound characters and you try to fit through the wall.
Yeah, you're chasing somebody else who makes like cartoonish holes in the wall shaped exactly like they are, and you have to make the poses that they were making when they went through the wall so you can go through the hole without running into the wall. That's the whole thing. You're just posing with your Wiimote and nunchuck by moving your arms in certain ways, and it's way more fun and intense than it sounds.
Yeah, there's also several Taito games like on that service. I mean, there were some legit Bust-A-Move and Arkanoid titles that like I don't think have any other versions. So like it really stinks that the WiiWare stuff is inaccessible because there's some gold on there that will never get re-released. There's some really cool experimental titles. There's Miyu and the Cubes, which is Kenji Ino's last game before he passed. Yeah.
For people who may not remember, Kenji Ino was the guy who did the Game, Enemy Zero. Well, I mean, D2, there's a stretch, but yeah.
Studio Warp, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a lot of really cool experimental like small small games on there that were really cool. And all the Virtual Console titles you can't download. So that really stinks. I mean, the Virtual Console titles, I mean, at least, most of them were not unique, but there are some unique kind of versions. I mean, there's the English translated, officially translated version um, was it Monster World 4 uh,
Oh.
was came to that system. I mean, that was the only way to play that officially for a long time. I mean, but later on, you could get that on more modern systems. But it really stinks that there's stuff like that. I'm also a firm believer that the best way to play N64 games is the Wii versions. And the Wii U versions of them, because the emulation is a lot cleaner than playing like on a real N64.
Yeah, I still want to pick up. I never did bother, but I still want to pick up Ogre Battle 64 on the Wii U.
Yeah, luckily in America at least, and in Japan, the Wii U store is still around. But I wouldn't suspect for much longer, because it shut down for a lot of countries already. So, and that's gonna stink too, because you have unique titles on that service. I mean, you have Fatal Frame 5. Um,
Which I can't believe hasn't
yeah.
been ported over yet.
And you have
Xenoblade Chronicles X.
well, Xenoblade Chronicles X was released physically. However, it had a
Well, the HD patch.
massive upgrade with an HD patch when it got
Yeah,
released.
your disc has the game in SD, which is inane.
Yeah, it's asinine. But yeah, it that really sucks. Also, another thing that got shut down was Xbox Live Indies. These were a lot of titles that were made by smaller studios or one or two people that required you to be online as well when you were playing them. But they were some of them were really fun. I mean, you had stuff in there, like immature stuff, like stop from farting, or stuff like that. But there were plenty of other really good titles that were even part of other series. I mean, you may not know this or not, but there were the Penny Arcade RPG games. The third and fourth title were Xbox Live indie games. They were not like mainline Xbox Live games. So for a while there, you couldn't play them, but thankfully they got Steam ports. But there were a bunch of other really cool games called like Shoot One Up. That eventually came to Steam, thankfully. Probably the best one on there that hasn't gotten a re-release is I Made a Game with Zombies in It.
Oh, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, it has one of the funniest like theme songs of a video game I've ever heard. I even have a shirt for that. But yeah, that doesn't have a modern port. There's plenty of titles on there that like are lost to time. I mean, thankfully, a lot of the major ones like Cthulhu Saves the World and Breath of Death 7 eventually made it to Steam, but it just really stinks to the ones that were left behind, because those were like the most popular titles that got a port, but it really stinks. The DSi, thankfully, doesn't have too many games that.
Photo Dojo, baby.
See, I think you can still download most of the DSiWare titles on the 3DS, so I don't think there are too many that anybody is missing. I still think you can get Photo Dojo for your 3DS. Thankfully.
Very nice. By the way, get Photo Dojo.
Photo Dojo was a lot of fun. We need to remake what we did on there, because I think I lost our data.
Yeah, we should we should get some sort of we need to get somebody with like a smartphone and just hold it over the DS, record us playing Photo Dojo.
That was a lot of fun. Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good review of the kind of problems that lead to this, and some of the titles that we're sorely missing. So, any others that you want to add to the discussion, Lotus, before we move on to fan stuff?
That's all I can think of. This is all that's all I can think of off the top of my head.
These are the big ones.
I might be good, yeah.
Yeah, these are the big ones. I'm sure there are plenty of other games that like certain fandoms really miss.
You know what? Steam version of Lego The Hobbit and Lego Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, that's legit.
They vanished, yeah. Which was a shame. I mean, again, you can get them physically on console and stuff, but yeah, that's a shame, especially considering the longevity of various Lego games.
Well, thankfully, Disney has actually been really good about keeping most of these games alive. In fact, they brought back a lot of games that you never thought they would. Like, you can get Aladdin and Lion King from
Yeah.
the Genesis
Oh, actually,
currently.
and you know what? One more that I totally forgot about. I don't know if this is an example of delisting. I think it was PC only, but Telltale's Jurassic Park game.
Oh yeah, and that one's considered to be a bad game.
It is, but I
It's
want to play it for the QTEs where you like die in weird ways.
I have it. So if you
Nice.
want to ever experience it,
That's kind of funny.
we could do a run through it.
Nice.
But thankfully, Disney has been pretty good. In fact, ever since they took over LucasArts and Marvel, most of their games have been in constant availability, and more games as time goes on have been made available. So thankfully, like Tron 2.0 for a long time
Oh
was
yeah, that vanished for a good while. Yeah.
vanished, but now you can buy it no problem, and it's a great game. Especially, I forgot to mention this during CoreCon, but they announced Tron 3 is in production. So
Ooh. Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, yeah, they're making a third Tron movie.
yeah, and not like a reboot or anything. It's like a third title. So Tron 2.0, yeah, you should play that because it was a great game. A
I hope they
really,
bring
really good
back
game.
Daft Punk
Actually, I think they are in talks with them. I think
because
that's something
that
I read.
soundtrack, like the soundtrack is the main thing people remember about the movie, like the
Yeah.
neon look and the just incredible soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, Tron, what was the second one? Legacy was actually
Legacy, yeah.
it was a beautiful movie. It's like undoubtedly very entertaining to look at. Absolutely. Well, let's move on then.
Why, sure. So we have a couple of comments. One of them, Living Corpse, weighing in on favorite sounds, says I also like the sound of rain and cats purring.
There
So
you go.
relaxing. Yeah, they are. And then Drakeologist is talking about the
Last
attack
of Us
on
2.
Laura Bailey, The Last of Us 2. He said the Last of Us 2 attack is feckin' wretched in so many ways. First off, you don't do that even if you don't like the character. It's not the VA's fault. Second, you just help the publisher to cherry pick your psychotic comment over legit criticism and show it to the mainstream as proof that everyone in gaming is like you. Yeah, the people who don't like my game, look at this asshole who's like making death threats at my employees. They said Lo Wang. He's changing the subject. Lo Wang is actually voiced by someone called Jason Liebrecht.
Huh.
And
I
the
thought Nolan
Fallout.
Northwood did it at least once.
I haven't heard the voice, so I wouldn't know. And it's just the Fallout Netflix problem is that the main character was always a blank cipher. Yeah, or I would say a blank slate. As for memorable character, you could always look a bit more back, like Goris. And finally, he mentions recent Trigger works, like Trigger Studio, are Darling and the Fran XX, or Franks, with the makers of SAO, that's Sword Art Online, Promare, and BNA. What's BNA? Like Boku no Hero Academia?
I guess. Yeah.
Because
I don't know.
I've always seen it as My Hero Academia as MHA, so I could be wrong about that. I'm probably wrong about that. We'll see what happens. Anyway, now for the question. Fakafan asks, what was an incredibly annoying bug you encountered that also had an upside? For example, I'm playing an XCOM game, or an XCOM style game, sorry. Sometimes you can clearly see an enemy, but the game won't let you shoot it because there's no line of sight, even though there clearly is one. But on the upside, that affects the enemies too. Um, I don't know if I'd call this a bug, but in FromSoft, some enemies that have really big bodies or long arms or whatever can like clip through walls and hit you anyway. But you can do that too sometimes, and in fact, that's probably the best way to beat the giant spider that is not a boss in Bloodborne. Just extend your weapon and just do the long vertical slashes and just catch it through the wall because it's kind of coming through the wall. I don't know if that's a bug, but it's a useful exploit that both you and the enemy can make use of.
I would say anything in Skate 3. I mean, if you're trying to legitimately play Skate
Yeah, you're
3,
gonna have a bad time.
you're gonna be upset. But if you're playing it, like I would want you to play it. Um,
Yeah, like I mean that's kind of the same thing when Mr. Ryu and I played Ride to Hell. We did not play that because we thought we were going to experience a quality gaming experience. We played it to see what weird shit would happen, and we got like many completely different results.
yeah.
I didn't know there was one particular bug that I've never heard of. Like I didn't think a game could do it. Where this blue outline just slowly bled down the right side of the screen and then across the left bottom of the screen, like the border. That was the weirdest thing I've ever seen as far as a visual. I don't know what you call it, glitch bug like is concerned. That was fucking weird, but it made for entertaining video.
Just look up Skate 3 bloopers. Skate 3 has probably the most entertaining glitches of any game I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but my favorite YouTube video of Skate 3 jank is titled "This Game is Patched." It's just funny.
You can legitimately watch the weird bullshit that this game like does.
Yeah, it's just getting
with
caught on
physics.
like a pole and like being stuck in it, kind of, and just going like and like just flailing all around trying to get out of the geometry.
You can legitimately watch those for like an hour, no problem, and still be really goddamn entertained. Like
Yeah,
I've done it, and it's still entertaining every time I watch it.
they are quite humorous.
And especially the way they cut them together and stuff like that is always been really funny. But
Yeah,
it's partially like the cinematic like camera that you can also do in the game makes it also
yes.
really funny. There's like a lot of funny elements. Also, there's like no music or anything going on, and
Oh
you
yeah,
just
it's
hear
just dead silence, and you just hear like
footsteps and
these
jank.
loud sounds of you jangling on a wall or something.
It's so
It,
good.
it's like it's like the Souls games when you kill enemies and they go ragdoll. Sometimes like their hand will get caught in the ground, so you can still kick them around, but they won't move from that location because their hand is like a fixed point. Like that happens to you, the player. It's so annoying.
Now, I don't know if this is annoying or not, but like in SimCity 2000, you can actually like mess with the budget in the way that it like you can get way more money than you should just by like messing with the sliders because it has unintended consequences.
Huh.
Um, like in the original version of the game, they never thought that you would go like negative with some of the stuff.
Oh,
And so like if you type in negative, like the game will actually like reward you for it. Like
speaking of,
my
you know
friend
what?
used to do that.
Speaking of being rewarded for negative, have you ever seen? This is another game that the Angry Video Game Nerd covered. Have you ever seen Big Rigs,
Oh
the truck
yeah,
racing game? Do you know what I'm talking about?
backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, if like you have a speed limit, obviously, but if you put your truck in reverse, you do not have a speed limit. And you will keep accelerating until the game's visuals just glitch out. Like you are like warp speed. It's amazing.
That's the game where it says your winner, right?
Yeah, like U apostrophe RE, your winner. And also the geometry, like the objects don't exist. Like you could see stuff on the side of the road like a barn or something, but you could drive right through it. It's not really there. That happened in Ride to Hell once as well. Like I just walked into a dumpster. Like I was just inside it. Like I just walked through it like it didn't count. That was weird.
Yeah, I would say that like most of the unintended consequences kind of thing is more entertainment value than anything. Like when
Yeah,
it
same
comes to
goes
this
for
kind of
Bethesda.
stuff.
You're following through the level.
There's that one baseball game. I forget which 2K baseball or game it was. I think it was a 2K baseball game where it had that nightmare fuel like generated faces. Do you remember those? Like it looked like
No,
a
but
face made out of like burnt cigarettes. Like
oh god.
almost it's disgusting. I forget it was like on the PS3. Um,
Nah, I don't think I knew about this one.
yeah.
Although, actually, I don't know if this counts as bugs because you really have to work to make it happen. But in a lot of first-person games, if you like push yourself into a corner where the game doesn't understand which wall you're supposed to be touching, it might put you like on top of the wall, so you're kind of like outside of the level. Like I've seen people do that to speedrun, like Amnesia, like Doom 2016, Portal, where you're just walking outside the framework. That's I don't know if that's a bug necessarily, but you can use it for your benefit.
Let me send you this because you're gonna be like, oh my god, this is
Yeah.
terrifying.
I mean, I remember when Assassin's Creed Unity came out, like you had weird freakish faces because like the skin was off and you could see like the eyeballs or whatever. Whoa,
Yeah,
what the? I've never seen this. That's genuinely
it's
that's
disturbing.
freaky. That's
It-
creepy as shit.
yeah, especially
That is. How does that happen?
yeah. It looks like the head's made out of like cork or like burnt cigarettes or something. It's really
How does that
weird.
happen? How does like is that like an option or is that a glitch or
It was a
something?
glitch for MLB the show 17.
That is actually scary. Like,
Yeah.
no, thank you.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
The
yeah,
guy
look
who's just
that
like
up.
all hair with no face. Like that's like a horror thing.
Yeah, no, it looks like stuff from like Jacob's Ladder or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a pass on that one.
Yeah, no, like that is like really freaky. Um, yeah, every time I look at it, I'm like, it looks painful. Like
Yeah.
whatever it is, like I wince every time I look at it. It's like,
Yep.
ugh, it's gross. Um, I typed in like baseball game nightmare fuel, and that popped right
Came
up.
right up. Oh, there it is. That's the
Because
one
I didn't
was
know
looking
which
for.
game it was, but yeah, that was it. But
Ugh.
yeah, I can't think of too many other like combat situations that were like glitched to hell that had like an unintended consequence. But
Yeah, like the only thing I could think of was not an annoying bug because it only happens once and it's to my benefit. But the final boss of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, if you cast Cure
this
on
game
him,
keeps popping up.
yeah, if you cast Cure on him, the numbers like make no sense. So you like the number counter is so high on him that it should have healed, but the damage rolls over into damage, and then it rolls over into heal, and then it rolls over into damage. So you could have landed on any number. You could have like damaged him for like 1 HP or something, but it just so happens to land on like several thousand. Like it's better than your attack. So you're like, I'll just do
Is
this.
that an undead character? Is
No,
is that
because
why?
if your partner casts Cure on him, like it cures him. Like it's just fucked up for your character.
Wow.
Like you were not supposed to do this. It just works, and it's a coincidence that, like, oh, maybe I could use it on undead, but no, it just works on him.
Yeah, there are certain like undead characters that you could just like post like revive on and it kills them.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VIII's made use of that.
Yeah, but that's
Probably
like a
other Final
legitimate
Fantasies. Well, yeah,
weakness.
that happened all the way back in Warcraft 1. You could cast whatever the heal was on the daemons, and they just die. Or no, they take massive damage. I was very pleased when I discovered that.
How about Matt Damon?
Oof. It's not spelled with the A-E hybrid letter, so verdict's out on that one.
Matt Damon.
I don't get it.
You never saw Team America World Police?
I saw. That's the one thing he says in the entire movie. Apparently, the real Matt Damon got a kick out of that too.
No, he
Or
wanted to
did
do
he
it.
the
and
voice?
he wanted to do the voice, but he
Like,
was busy.
From what I've heard, he was supposed to be like a real character, but his puppet's face looked kind of just
Really
derp.
stupid.
And like, let's just make it stupid. Which that just cracks me up because like,
Matt
they were
Damon's
supposed to
not
make like a
known
real
for being
good
dumb
Matt Damon
either.
puppet face, and then it just came out looking fucking dumb.
He's not known for being dumb. He's actually a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like this is a weird thing to reference, but there was this old Angry Joe review where he was doing I want to say one of the Arkham games, and he usually gets in costume and does skits for his reviews, and he wanted a Batman costume, but he was ordering one last notice, and the only one he could get just looked stupid. It was like very puffy, and it looked like a cheap Halloween costume, and like you don't look intimidating in it. It looked really silly. So instead of doing like, you know, I'm Batman, like he just did that old YTM&D meme with that like where
The
60s
Batman
Batman
one?
doing that dance, and he was just doing
the
that like that's
Chacarone
yeah,
song.
that where he was just doing like the stupid face like the like that Adam West gif. I was like, that's perfect. He just rolled with it.
Oh man, I need to. I hope that's on YouTube somewhere preserved because YTM&D is like dead. But
Yeah, I mean, you could probably find the meme on some meme generator thing super easy.
but
Or not meme generator, but whatever it's called.
I used to laugh for hours watching that.
Because like that's like I don't know who came up with that combination, but they're a fucking genius.
I want a copy of that song just so I could get it on my shuffle. Like
Yeah, just like sometimes it might come up when you're driving. Oh, today's the day.
And I'm in my car going.
Come on, sing along. No.
My fiance's like, what the
Yeah,
fuck?
the marriage is off.
What the actual fuck? This is the least sexy thing you've ever done. And I've been around. Oh man. So
But yeah, those are the. I don't know if these kind of bugs, the ones I thought of, maybe the big rigs thing, but that's what I got.
Sure. I think we did the best we could with that one.
We're winner.
We're winner. That is the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions. Please keep us supplied with topics with please keep us
Supply us with something. I don't fucking know.
supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. Jesus Christ. Also, I gotta thank Vacathon made a really funny Patreon request for me. Did you see that?
I did, yeah.
So, for all of you that are aware of how Yamcha dies in Dragon Ball Z the first time, anyway.
The first time, yeah.
Is that the only time? I don't know.
I think just the fact that you could say that the first time he dies.
I'm pretty sure
I
he
believe
dies
he's
multiple
died
times.
3 times.
Yeah.
I forgot if Dr. Gero killed him, Android 20, but then Super Buu killed everybody, so he died at least twice for sure. I think 3 times. I'm not 100% on that.
So he dies from what is it? Nappa's Cybermen.
Yeah, Cyberman jumps on his back and self-destructs.
Yeah. So
and then Chaozu tried that on Nappa and ended up only killing himself, and Nappa was like, "That was weird." He just lost the character.
But Vacathon made this twerking Cyberman one time, and I thought was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because Cybermen, come on, they're broccoli people that explode.
I love the DBZ abridged of that. Raditz, he's such a pansy. Cybermen are about his power level. We can literally grow Raditz. It's like, oh no.
But so I was like, okay, what if Yamcha actually was in a situation in which he was very uncomfortable, surrounded by multiple twerking Cybermen?
Yeah, they're just sexy Cybermen, and Yamcha's like,
So I commissioned him to do twerking Cybermen around a Yamcha.
Yeah,
That's
Yamcha
very
is
embarrassed.
perfectly healthy, but not pleased.
A little chef's kiss. Thank you so much, Vacathon. I am so happy I made this happen.
Yamcha would rather one of them self-destructed on him.
Yeah, this was a joint effort, if you will. So I really, but thank you for drawing that and making that a reality. So good. I'll have to release that one of these days to the masses. Okay, and while there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays for our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold, and I'm pretty much everything.
You can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
All right, everyone. We'll catch everybody on Tuesday again.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.